Hi everyone, it is Sandra from Gracious Goodness Essentials. How are you? Wanting to have a quick chat today about our winter immunity and ways that we can actually help it, and a really simple way, to be honest. So we know that winter is one of those times when we see a lot more colds and flus, gastros, those types of things, and they've worked out why some of the reasons are for that. Firstly, we tend to stay inside. In fact, some of us the majority of us spend 90% of our time indoors over winter. And so that means that we're in close proximity to other people. We don't necessarily have a fresh air supply all the time in our homes. We don't get as much vitamin D, our melatonin is lower. All of these things play a role with our immune system. The other thing which they've discovered is that the absolute humidity in our air is actually really important to help our body fight off bacteria and viruses. And so what can impact the humidity? Well, we can't go, it's raining outside, the humidity's got to be really high. But what they've worked out is that it's not the relative humidity, it's the absolute humidity, which changes with air temperature, and not forgetting that when we're inside, we tend to have our reverse cycle heaters on. Our offices have always got heating. In fact, often in winter, it's warmer in the office than it is in summer. And the air seems to be quite drying. And we know that when we're in a dry environment, when our lips start to feel a bit cracked or chafed, our eyes might feel a bit dry and scratchy, perhaps, our nose and our throat feels dry and scratchy. They're all signs that the absolute humidity in our environment is quite low. Now, a couple of things happen there. Firstly, viruses in particular love a really low humidity and they love a really high humidity. Okay, they don't like it when it's just right. Okay, but a low humidity, like the dry air, they tend to thrive quite well. The other thing is that when our nose and our throat and our skin is really dry, our body can't provide its own natural protection as well, because we rely on having kind of moist mucous membranes to actually have our immune system working at its best, okay? Because that's where we trap, when we breathe in, our body can actually trap some of those pathogens, all right, and expel it before it actually hits our body and can cause us any harm. So when we're feeling really dry, we're more vulnerable. So we can impact the humidity in our environments, okay? We're going to still have our heaters on because it's cold, okay? And I'm a cold frog, so I absolutely love my heater. But there are a couple of things you can do. Firstly, you can get yourself a diffuser. So this one that I've got here behind me is a Lumo diffuser from doTERRA, and it's pretty cool. You can see that it has a change in colour scheme. You can see it has a nice fine mist. I'm going to talk about what that mist actually is, and it covers a nice big area. So the way that diffusers work, ultrasonic diffusers, the way that they work is that you pop some water in the diffuser and then a couple of drops of essential oil. All right. Now the unit actually vibrates the water at ultrasonic frequencies, and ultrasonic frequencies are actually sound waves that we can't detect as humans. Okay, but it vibrates the water at such a frequency that it actually separates the water particles. How cool! When the water particles are separated, they become negatively charged. When they're negatively charged, they become lighter than air, which is that mist that you can see. And when they're released into the air, those negatively charged ions, they actually attract the positively charged free radicals, which are the harmful particles in our air. They attract them to it, and they negate them. All right, so they remove them from our atmosphere, which is awesome, which is super cool. So what we have is negatively charged ions, and you might have heard this before, like with the Himalayan salt lamps or the salt rooms. They're really great for our health because they're negatively charged ions. Your diffuser is doing the same thing, except you can add some essential oils in there, which have then got their own unique chemistry and properties to even further enhance that negative ion, okay? So you've got negative ions removing the positive free radicals, and then we could pop, say, some lemon essential oil on there, which is great at also at helping to knock out pathogens in the air. Our On Guard protective blend, you think about some tea tree, oregano, eucalyptus, all of these things are fantastic at helping to knock out airborne pathogens like bacteria and viruses, and for us to actually breathe in as well, and for them to have an effect in our lungs. So the research has shown that it's actually better for us to have a localized humidifying source close to us than having an entire house that's been regulated with humidity. So they actually advocate for the use of personal diffusers sitting somewhere close to where you're sitting, say at work or at night when you're in bed. They seem to work better than whole house systems, which are quite popular over in Europe and the States, because they've recognized this for a few years now, that it can be a bit of an issue. The other thing that you can do to help yourself is actually drink lots of water. Make sure that you stay well hydrated so that you're more able to cope with the drier humidities, okay, and your body has a better chance at staying well protected. And the other thing that you could do is actually introduce some houseplants. So houseplants, of course, give off moisture. And they also help to regulate our humidity. Now, we don't want too much humidity, like I spoke about before. So you remember the old humidifiers that used to have like the big kind of 1 litre water tanks, and you would wake up in the morning and like your windows would be covered in moisture, and the table that it was on, I used to have to put, my daughter, I used to have one, I used to have to put a towel underneath it because the table would get so wet from it. That's too much moisture, okay? Yes, it provides a nice wet environment, but the wetness actually promotes the mold and the viruses, okay? So we don't want that. We don't want it super dry. We just want that sweet spot. And we can tell for ourselves where that sweet spot is by the way that we feel, okay? So if we don't have dry lips, we don't have scratchy eyes, our skin doesn't feel like it's dry and cracking, and we're not having to use moisturizer every 5 minutes on our hands because they're so dry, that's a pretty good indication that the humidity in our air is okay, all right? So we can enhance it with our negative ions, getting rid of those positive free radicals. We can enhance it with the use of essential oils that have got those unique chemistry properties, okay, to assist both our mood and our environment, okay? And we can look after ourselves by drinking lots of water and keeping ourselves well hydrated, and having some beautiful greenery around the place as well. So there you go. I hope that helps you to understand why these diffusers are so beneficial. And if you've got any questions, leave them under the post. If you're curious in getting yourself a diffuser, don't forget that the pedal diffuser comes in both our Home Essentials kit as well as our Emotions kit as a starter pack, okay? And they're also available to buy individually through your wholesale back office. And if you're not already a member, please let me know and message me, because I would love to hook you up so that you can get 25% off retail prices and have access to incredible essential oils. Catch you next time. Bye.